Hey there, French language explorers! Feel like French verbs are a brain teaser you just can't crack? Think again, because today we are about to chop through that verb confusion like a chef slicing through a block of butter on a summer day, smoothly. So we'll meet the charming verbs, the slightly moody verbs, and the unpredictable verbs. So grab your snacks and get comfy. It's time to turn those verbs woos into victories. Let's dive in and have some fun. You should know that French verbs are classified into three groups, primarily to simplify the process of conjugation. This classification is based on the ending of the infinitives of the verbs. Here is a breakdown of each group. First group. The first group of verbs consists of regular verbs that end in er in their infinitive form. This is the largest group and it follows a regular pattern for conjugation. By knowing how to conjugate one er verb, you can apply the same rules to all the others. Just be aware there is one important exception you need to keep in mind. The verb aller, to go. This verb is the only exception to this rule. Although it ends in er, it actually belongs to the third group of verbs. This means it doesn't follow the typical conjugation rules for first group verbs. Don't forget to check the conjugation of the verb aller, to go, I have already published in a previous video. Now let's check out some examples of first group verbs. We have, for example, le verbe parler. To speak or to talk, parler. Aimer, to love or to like. Danser, to dance, etc. I will now explain the conjugation technique for these delightful verbs. Let's take, for example, the verb parler, which means to speak or to talk. First step is to remove the er ending to find the stem. Parle. Second step, we add the following endings. Je parle, I at the end, or E à la fin. Tu parles, IS at the end, ES à la fin. Il, elle, on parle, I at the end. Nous parlons, ONS at the end. Vous parlez, IZ at the end. Il or elle parle, ENT at the end. Notice that we don't pronounce these endings. For the conjugated form, for the subject, pronounce je, tu, il, elle, and on. We don't pronounce the final E in je parle, the final ES in tu parles, the final E in il, elle, on parle. We don't pronounce the letter S at the end of on. Nous parlons. We don't pronounce the S at the end. The ON sound is pronounced on. Nous parlons. we don't pronounce the sound ENT at the end of il parle and elle parle. We don't pronounce it. We say il parle, elle parle. And the EZ at the end of vous parlez is pronounced like et. Vous parlez. E accent aigu. In French, the subject pronoun on is quite versatile and commonly used. It translates to one, we, or people in English, depending on the context. I'm cooking a special video just for the subject pronoun on. It's going to be a real treat in an upcoming episode. For now, just know that the subject pronoun on behaves like the subject pronouns il and elle, he and she, when it comes to conjugation. Okay? So, having tackled the first group, let's now move on to the second group of verbs. Second group verbs in French are regular verbs that end in IR in their infinitive form and have a specific pattern for conjugation. They typically follow the pattern of removing the IR and at the end and adding endings like IS, IS, IT, ISSONS, ISSEZ, ISSENT in the present tense. An example is le verbe finir, to finish, or choisir, to choose, or grandir, to grow, etc. Let's look together at how to conjugate the verb finir in the present tense. All the other second group verbs will follow the same pattern. Je finis. Tu finis. Il, elle, on finit. Nous finissons. Vous finissez. Ils finissent. Elles finissent. Notice that in nous, vous, il, we add an ISS to the stem. Then we add the endings ONS, EZ, and ENT. Notice that we don't pronounce the ending letter S, S, and T in the conjugated form for je, tu, il, elle, on. Je finis, we don't pronounce the S. Tu finis, same thing. Il, elle, on finit. We don't pronounce the final T. Notice also that we don't pronounce the S at the end of on. Nous finissons. The ON sound is pronounced on in French. And that the EZ at the end of vous finissez is pronounced like E. Vous finissez. Like a E accent aigu sound. And finally, notice that we don't pronounce the final ending ENT in il, elle finissent. I will prepare a list of the most useful and commonly used second group verbs in French for you in a coming video. Now we arrive to the third group verbs. Third group verbs in French are the rebels of the verb world. Like that, let me say, unpredictable friend who shows up to the party with a wild dance move all of a sudden. They include all the irregular verbs that don't fit into the neat categories of the first or second groups. You've got, for example, RE verbs like vendre, or vendre, which means to sell, or we have OIR verbs like voir, to see, and they love to keep you on your toes. Alright, let's check out how to conjugate the verb vendre, for example. After that, I'll create a fun video just for these tricky verbs. So to tame them, we will see if we can sort them into some entertaining subcategories and find conjugations patterns. Okay? So for the verb vendre, to sell, vendre, remove the RE ending to find the stem, vend. Then add the following endings. Je vends, tu vends, il, elle, on vend, nous vendons, vous vendez, ils vendent, elles vendent. Don't pronounce the ending letters DS, DS, and D in the conjugated form for je, tu, il, elle, and on. Don't pronounce the final S in ONS, nous vendons. Pronounce the EZ at the end of vous vendez like an E sound. E accent aigu. E. Vous vendez. And finally, don't pronounce the E and T letters at the end of ils vendent and elles vendent. All right, everyone, we have had a wonderful time exploring the colorful world of French verb classification. From the straightforward ER verbs to the unpredictable IR and the sneaky third group. It's been quite an adventure. Think of verbs as the skeleton of French phrases. They give structure and support to everything else. So think of mastering these verbs like trying to catch butterflies. Tricky, but incredibly rewarding at the end. So keep practicing, have fun with it. So if you enjoyed this lesson, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more fun French content. Your support keeps the learning going. See you in the next video. Au revoir.